Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 6327 North Boston Avenue here in Portland. We are located inside the basement, up against the, up against about the rear foundation wall, just below the main stack that comes down. We have a backflow valve on the floor. This appears to be 3-inch diameter, ABS. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. We do have water currently running, and we'll zero out the foot counter right inside the access point here. And the line transitions immediately over to cast iron, which is 4-inch diameter pipe. Off we go. And make sure, not that you're going to, there's another clean out right here tying into the top of the pipe. That's at the front foundation wall. That one's recessed down into the floor quite a ways. It's very difficult to actually gain access to. It's about 4 inches down below the concrete floor level. So try not to cover this or floor this one over back here that I'm going through right now. It's a great point of access for drain cleaning, but you want to be able to service the backflow valve if necessary. The flappers sometimes can get gunked up, and so you want to make sure you're not flooring over it or putting anything permanent over the top of it. The line transitions here to ABS. We do have standing water in this portion of the line. I think you've got some in the cast iron as well. We'll see how everything drains out at the end. What I'm not seeing is any real buildup in that area. And I do use that as a metric to gauge whether the belly is repair worthy or not. Where I typically start recommending repairs though is once there's an inch of water for around 5 feet. That's with no water running at all. That's where I typically start to see just regular old toilet paper hang up in the line. But like any belly, a belly does not guarantee a blockage is going to occur. It makes it more likely, especially if you have habits of putting things like paper towels, tampons, grease, balled up toilet paper. They become especially problematic when you're putting things down the line that really shouldn't be going down there. Not that they can't cause buildup to begin with, but but with the smoothness of plastic pipe, debris breaks loose from the sidewalls fairly easily, at least stuff that should be going down the line. So usually when I'm seeing backups out of these things, it's often when someone's either balling their toilet paper up, which you shouldn't do, or putting other things like that, or paper towels and stuff down the line. The line just transitioned there over to 6-inch clay pipe. All that scraggly, stringy stuff at the top of the pipe there, that's just cobwebs. And at this point, we're within city responsibility, even if that were to be roots, but it's not. We're at the main here at 99 feet. We're going to go do some locates to verify where the line terminates at, and we'll get a better view of everything as we come back. Like what we're going to do here is we're going to pull back to the transition while it drains out, and we'll see if they took the update all the way to the street edge or not. At the curb is where the city or the county takes responsibility for the sewer line. Well, hopefully they took it to the street curb where responsibility changes hands. All right, just located the camera head successfully. The line ends up routing over underneath the driveway to get out to the street, and we are sitting about 2 inches or so into the road. So the repair was taken all the way to the end of homeowner responsibility. We've got minor standing water out here. And I think we still have a little bit of water draining off in the line too. And that I can hardly even call a belly. I mean, we're talking like a 32nd of an inch of water here. But it's also still flowing. Yeah, I think most of that's just water that's draining off. I mean, either way, if you have a 32nd of an inch of water in your line, that might as well not even be there when it comes to functionality. It's too minor to really do anything. This joint here at 80 feet possibly is somewhat open to the ground here. There's a little bit of staining at the you can see on either side of the pipe joints there. Usually when I'm scoping it, I can't see an obvious gap in the joint. You can see the two pieces of pipe are somewhat separated from each other. That doesn't mean that the joint is open to the ground, because there's a coupler on the outside of these that hold things together. I'll write it up as a possible compromise joint, but I like to see other things that make the joint obviously, or you know with certainty that it actually is open to the ground. You've got some staining there, which could feasibly be dirt. It could also be something else. It could be grease that's gone down the line. I'm usually looking for other things like water dripping through, earthworms crawling around, things like that. So as it sits right now, it's not affecting functionality or flow, but you possibly have a joint there that wasn't put together completely or wasn't sealed completely. And similar one here. That's 74 feet. When you get those gaps in the joint, though, if they're put together that way, you can also get debris that kind of collects into them because there's a space there for stuff to get caught. Anyhow, it is possible those are at least somewhat open to the ground there. A lot of the stuff I'm looking at between that joint, though, looks kind of greasy. It very easily could be just grease that got caught between the two pieces of pipe there. In my opinion, I don't have enough going on here to know with certainty that those are open joints. It's somewhat suspect. But I like to see other signs that the joint's open to the ground there. There's lots of things that go down lines that mimic the look of dirt. You know, earthworms crawling around, water dripping through, stuff like that makes it much easier. I mean, before I recommend a $8,000-$10,000 repair digging a hole, I like to know that it is certainly open to the ground. Either way, neither of those joints there are affecting functionality. What can happen over time, though, if you do have a joint that's pulling enough groundwater and dirt through it, it can lead to settling over time. It can hydro erode the dirt from around the pipe, and it will cause the support, or to lose support underneath it, and it can cause it to settle. And because this is a 4-inch line, if you went back and re-scoped the line in a year or two and you had more obvious signs that those joints are open, nowadays you can trenchlessly repair stuff like this by epoxy liner. But there's just, I'm somewhat suspect those joints are at least somewhat open to the ground. They're not gaping wide open by any means, or a stretch of the imagination. You can see here on this joint you get a little bit of reddish color right on the edge, and it could just simply be you've got an edge there for stuff to get caught on. That's what makes it hard to verify with certainty. It's easier to verify those joints during the really rainy months of the year where you have heavy water saturation in the ground. Joints that are that tight do not just passively let stuff flow through them. You need hydraulic pressure to force it through the joint because they're not gaping wide open. They're closed off, but it's possible someone didn't glue them completely or completely secure the hose band fitting, and it's letting just little bits here and there through. And right here at 35 feet is where we have this standing water dissipating off. So that belly there is very, very minor. You've got the bellies running from around 33 to 35 feet. At its worst point here, that water line is hitting just at the base of my camera lens. You've got a 1/4 inch of standing water. There's no buildup in the area. I wouldn't expect to see it anyway with a belly that small. But no no buildup in the area, and certainly no blockage evidence. Had that ever caused a blockage, which would take some doing on the homeowner's part to get it there, we would have debris buildup stuck to the top of the pipe all over the place. And then this kind of thing on the left side of the screen here, that's a drain connection. That's likely where the kitchen sink ties in. You got a little bit of grease deposits coming out of that. That's not a hole in the pipe. It's a drain fitting that comes in there. And then under the floor here, you do also have, I thought we might have had some standing water on the way out. So at around 20, I'm not even sure this is the result of a belly. You've got a little piece of what looks like, when cast iron gets updated or cut into, sometimes a piece of it will chip off. It's kind of brittle like glass is. it'll get down the line and then solidify or rust itself in place. It almost looks like you've got a small piece of cast iron sitting right here, somewhat damming the pipe up. And it wouldn't make sense for it to be channeling, because channeling, if you were to go over this lump at the top of it, the pipe would be continuous with it. You kind of go up and then back over it like that. So that doesn't appear to be, and channeling is where the metal gets eaten away over time. So because there's no buildup there or evidence of blockages occurring in the past, I'm not going to recommend drain cleaning it. Could it feasibly cause a blockage? Yes. But just based on how clean this line is, it would take putting something down the line kind of neglectful, either a huge ball of toilet paper or something that shouldn't be going down the line, like a paper towel or a tampon, something like that. Something that would get caught on it and then not break down on its own. Now, if that were causing frequent and consistent flow problems, there would be lots and lots of buildup in the area. And I tend not to recommend drain cleaning on cast iron. It develops unless it's necessary. You get a rust layer that develops on the inside of a lot of it, and I have seen people try and clear things like that out, and they knock the rust loose from 40 feet of pipe getting to it, and then you have a huge pile of rust sitting in your flow line, which was a bigger problem than you had before. So and you just don't want to go beating up on it unless it's necessary. Similar thing here. You've got another little piece, it looks like, in the flow line. As far as I can tell, that looks like another little piece of cast iron that chipped off down the line. That's got an edge to it, like that's the piece of cast iron there. It's always possible it could be something other than that. You've got some kind of deposits and stuff in the area here that kind of block our view. But again, I'm not seeing any major buildup in this area. There's a minor amount of it. But as far as I can tell, that doesn't appear to be the pipe bottom itself broken. It looks like a piece of cast iron that chipped off and then rusted itself in place. And when the concern here too, when you have cast iron in the line like this, what you don't want to do is go. I mean, if it's causing flow problems, obviously try and get it out. What you don't want to do though is go and break it loose and get it stuck in a weirder position that it's in. Right now, it's sitting flat and obstructing the line to a pretty minor extent. So that's why I don't recommend messing with it. In my opinion, it's not worth doing, considering the risk you could have, at least trying to get it out of the line or positioning it in a worse location. Now, anyhow, as a recap here, we've got the minor belly from 33 to 35 feet causing a 1/4 inch of water. That one's too minor, in my opinion, to require repairs. Possible compromised joints at 80 and 74 feet. There's just a little bit of staining at those joints. It could feasibly be dirt. Could also just as easily be grease deposits getting caught in a little gap between the pipe joints. In my opinion, there's not enough evidence there to confirm that with certainty. So at this point in time, I don't recommend repairs on it. And they're not affecting functionality or flow at all. And then at 22 and 2 feet, there appears to be a piece of cast iron solidified in the flow line, neither of which show evidence of blocking, and neither of which are obstructing the flow line in a massively significant way. So both of those areas are, again, could they feasibly cause a blockage? Yes. Based on how clean the line is, whoever's been living here has had zero issues with that. I can tell based on the cleanliness of the line. So if you're not putting things down the line that shouldn't be going down there, it's very unlikely the line will ever block on you. So as it sits right now, the line is functioning at this time. You might want to rescope the line in about a year or two to keep an eye on things. Those two joints are somewhat questionable out there at 80 and 74 feet. You're going to need some time, and you want to do that scope during the rainy months of the year. That's when you get your best view as to whether those are actually open to the ground or not. Either way, at this point in time, they are not affecting flow and functionality.